I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
This is the Fan Forum.
All right, here we are in the Mets Fan Forum, the most frequent fan forum on this podcast because I am a Met fan. Very happy to be back here. First up today, joining me in the Fan Forum, the Met half of the baseball beat, Will Schneiderhan. Will, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Glad to get you back on the horn. We're going to be busy with you for a couple of weeks now as the baseball hopefully continues to ramp up.
Yeah, let's hope, right? I mean, at least give us something to at least watch and enjoy for a little bit. It's going to feel really weird. Obviously, we'll get into that. But, yeah, I'm excited, for some more heartbreak. So let's get it going.
That's the spirit. And also joining us today, somebody we last heard from during the holiday season, the holiday special. She's back for her second Met Fan Forum, Jill Venditti. Jill, how are you?
I am, living the vibe right now in club quarantine. Just kind of figuring things out right now,
Yeah, aren't we all? I mean, we're still, hunkering down, doing our best to not get the coronavirus, and hopefully we'll have baseball on our TVs about, 2 weeks. That would be nice. Anyway, we are here. We're going to dive into the New York Mets. I just got off the line with Tim Healy on Newsday. You guys got a chance to check that out. Jill, any big takeaways on what Tim had to say?
My biggest takeaway, I think, has to be his prediction for the DH. At first, my initial thought was that instead of being that there's really only 4 true outfielders, I was like, maybe not, just because they'll need him in left field. But I definitely would like to see him at the DH just to kind of get reps back at the plate. But my first choice, I think, would have to be Dom Smith. And I know he mentioned Smith getting a lot of chances there, too. Just because I think he also needs the at-bats to get his confidence back up, being that he's no longer the prime first baseman with Alonso around. So I think seeing Dom at the DH position will definitely give him a lot of that confidence back, and it'll be very interesting to see what he'll do. But then again, I also wouldn't mind seeing Cano as a DH, but that's really only because I don't want to see him on the field. I don't think he's the best fit at second. I personally would rather see McNeil there, but that's kind of my personal preference.
Yeah, well, any thoughts on the DH situation? Where would you like to see the Mets go?
It's going to go down that road anyway, right? Where basically you're just going to flip a coin where I guess Cespedes will be your guy, and then if you can get Cespedes into the field, you switch it with J.D. Davis and Davis and Dom Smith. Sorry, I drew blank for a second. And then, Robbie Cano, I feel like ultimately it's going to be Cano's position because he is just, Jill just said it. To do it, does any Mets fan really want to sit there and watch Robbie Cano crawl at second base? And it's kind of stinks because he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But, I think I kind of just look at the DH spot as another way to get at bats. For, like Jill said, Dom Smith, he's not going to play first every day, obviously. A guy like J.D. Davis. And it's like, I feel like you can squeak another, 50 or so at bats out of those guys. And those are guys who we saw last year. They're productive when they play. And I really don't look at it as one guy is going to occupy that position the whole time. Because ideally, as we can tell, and as a lot of the reports have been from the summer camp, Cespedes they're trying to get him in the outfield. They're paying him all that money, and he's a Gold Glover when he's out there. So to me, Cespedes is a safety net at DH, where it's if you're going to at least get him, put him there. But I really would like the guy to actually play the outfield.
Yeah, if you get his cannon out and left, that would be huge to me. But speaking of Robbie Cano, there has been a little bit of breaking news today, courtesy of Tim Healy himself. He pointed out today that Robinson Cano has not been around for the last 3 practices, and they won't say why, which obviously that could be any number of things, but it's worth monitoring as we head through the next week.
Where did he go home or something? I don't know. Where did he go for quarantine? Is it that? That weird Rosario thing that was going on?
Yeah, because then they've been staggering workouts. I know Rosario said they told him not to come in until Sunday, so you don't know if it's part of the plan or whatnot, but they're not going to be very outgoing unless the player wants it to be involved, but worth monitoring with Robbie Cano. Like, he has not been around the last couple of days. And this is as of Thursday, July 9th.
Interesting. Yeah. Maybe he was. I don't know where he was at. So maybe it's just one of those protocol situations. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on, right? I mean, I feel like that's really quiet, right? That he's not there. Don't you think that'd be like some big thing in Mets Twitter? I mean, I haven't been on it today, so maybe it has. But,
Yeah. Healy broke us about an hour ago. He put this story out, so this is just new to us. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of days with the Cano situation.
Yes, we will.
And speaking of guys who are actually going to be there, though, one guy who has not gotten a lot of attention early on because everybody's crazy about Cespedes' exploits in batting practice. The fact that we got Pete Alonso, Rookie of the Year, back for his sophomore season. I think it was J.D. Davis. Somebody said that when he's about to get 30 homers in 60 games. Jill, like, what are your expectations for Pete Alonso year 2?
So I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox right now, so I'm going to take a decent little chunk of your time because I have a lot to say about Alonso. I think he really is the best thing to happen for/to the Mets in 2015's run-up series. He's got that drive, the passion, and he's just really what this fan base and this team needs. He also has a lot of power. Obviously, we saw it in the home run race and the home run derby itself. And he's also just very enjoyable to watch at the plate. And his antics in the dugout, too, are just amazing. And I know he said he's got a lot planned for this year, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to it because I think we need him as fans, and I think the team needs him. But yeah, he just gets something for the fans to look forward to, and I think he could be a really great role model for the young fans and young players to look up to before they get to like the big stage of even college and bigs, whatever. But I think it's mainly like that he'll be a role model for the way that he plays his game and his energy, and just that presence that he brings. I mean, he may only be in his sophomore season right now, or going to be in his sophomore season, but I think he already has shown that he has what it takes to be a leader for this team one day, and possibly sooner than we expect. I know a lot of people have been saying this, but it really can't be said enough that Alonso could very well be the younger fans' David Wright one day, if not right now. I think he resembles Wright in a lot of ways, from his swing to his presence in the dugout, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds for him. And I'm a very, very big Alonso stan. There, I said it. I'm very proud to say that.
Yeah, Joe brings up a lot of interesting points. Well, I also want to point out that we talk about the leadership qualities that Alonso brings up. It makes me think back to last year on 9/11 when he organized the drive to get everybody the 9/11 inspired cleats, and he did that as a rookie and basically took that responsibility onto himself. He decided to basically galvanize the fan base. Like, I think she's right. Pete Alonso is probably the best thing that happened to this franchise in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much, that would be the shared consensus, wouldn't it be, for an organization that really doesn't have a lot going for him at times? But no, Alonso is just phenomenal, and I think it's like Jill said, the intangible stuff, like just the fact that he just gets it, It's like when Judge came up, you just look at that guy and you're like, geez, man, this is just a guy who understands, what platform he has, what city he's in, the spotlight isn't too big for him, so I mean, that could all change in the second year, which I don't see him falling off the face of the earth. But, you just got to, with Judge, it was the same thing. He's the EP comparison because, my God, they are actually more identical than you think. Remember when Judge's sophomore year was all right, we got to see him do it again, And so, yeah, I do have to see him do it again with Alonso. I don't expect 50 dingers. I mean, that was just unreal what he did, but I expect the guy who's going to come compete every day, be really productive, and just be the center of the lineup figuratively and like literally.
Yeah, I mean, if you hit 50 dingers in 60 games, that would be one hell of a season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even. The 30's a lot too.
Yeah.
But no, he. I hope after this season he can really just be that 4-hole, 3-hole first baseman for the next 5 to 10 years. I'll sign up for that.
Yeah, and I did invest in the Pete Alonso jersey, so I did buy one from the Met team store. I did the transaction through Twitter, called up, got it sent to the house. I have that ready for opening day.
Nice.
Hey, sometimes you just get sold quick.
Yeah. Hey, he joins the collection right now. It's of my current players. It's him, Ioannis, and DeGrom are my three guys who I have jerseys of.
You had to make up for the Ioannis one. I got you.
Yeah, yeah. The Ioannis one was the first one I got, and then that turned out to be a disaster. Then I bought Jake right before the first Cy Young year. So I'm like, okay, this is good. So I bought Alonso off the Rookie of the Year. Hopefully the momentum goes forward with that one as well.
I like it.
Yeah. Speaking of Mr. DeGrom, I mean, he's going for some history. He's going for 3 straight Cy Youngs, and I think he had a great point about how, like, I don't know how much this means in a shortened year because, like, obviously it's only 60 games, but I just think it'd be funny as hell, Jill, if DeGrom just goes 3-2 with like a 1.1 ERA and ends up winning the Cy Young because nobody else has numbers.
If anyone can do that this year, it's going to be him. Like, it's kind of like a simple fact of, like, he has what it takes to do it again. I think he can do it again, even though it is, like, a third of the season. I can't do math very well, so I might be completely off my numbers. But, in less than half the season, I think it's possible. But at the same time, like, I just don't really know what to expect because he's just been so phenomenal that, like, I want to see him continue on that trajectory of greatness and end up in the Hall one day. But, like, in a season like this where nothing's going as planned, it's kind of hard to kind of think about what will happen.
Yeah, well, we talked about this off air. The deal of the century by Brody Van Wagen to get Jake DeGrom for 5 years, $137.5 million. We see Garrett Cole get $324 in the following offseason.
I mean, all it took was probably the dumbest trade ever with the Cano trade to overshadow that. Like that's all we spent talking about it. About that offseason because I have it in the same offseason, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was the end of the offseason.
Yeah. So, I mean, people don't talk about that enough. I mean, literally, that is what we have. They have DeGrom under contract for is ludicrous. I mean, it is absolutely insane. I mean, I get it. He's older, but oh my God, the best pitcher in baseball, and you have him for nothing. And the Yankees just broke the bank. I mean, we see it all the time with teams having this pace starting pitching like that. I mean, just the fact that you have this guy for honestly, if Syndergaard was healthy, put together a good year, he's probably touching that same number, don't you think?
Yeah, easily. If he gets the market, he's gonna get that number pretty much. If going out there just on talent alone.
And doesn't Wheeler get paid more than him?
Wheeler got less, but not by much.
Less? Okay, yeah, so exactly. It's just, you have the best pitcher in baseball who I'm pretty sure Jake DeGrom could roll out of bed, show up to the ballpark and just, throw 6 shutout innings like it's nothing. I mean, he truly is the best pitcher that our generation, he is our receiver. I think that's definitely fair enough to say. And, just his overall body work is astounding. And, even with the shortened season, the guy's just ridiculous. I mean, who else is going to compete for the Cy Young in the National League? Mr. Scherzer? Like, that's it, really.
Yeah, I'd say Walker Buehler from the Dodgers, who's probably a good candidate.
Yeah.
I think he'd be the other. Flaherty, possibly. It's interesting. I think the relievers could be in play for the side, too, just because they get more appearances and have a chance to put up stats.
Yeah, I mean, not to go down a rabbit hole, but for argument purpose, I'd actually think, relief pitchers are probably so much more important, honestly, than your starting pitching this year, because you're asking a lot more out of relief pitching. I mean, a lot more.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary for the Mets.
Yeah. Since you brought that up, let's go there. Let's go to the bullpen, because when I talked to Tim Healy about it, too, he talked about how, Betances is throwing well. Last we heard today, he's hitting 92, 93 on the radar gun, which is nice. Edwin Diaz, they got a quick hook on him. Familia's lost the weight. We don't know how it's going to affect him yet. And on paper, if they pitch well, they should have a very good bullpen because they have a lot of arms in it. They did add Jared Hughes in the offseason, prior to summer camp, to give them another big league arm out there. But the thing is, it's still the Met bullpen was awful last year. Law of averages says they should bounce back, but I think the question, Jill, you agree, is just how much.
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it. Based on paper, they should be really good. But the real question here is, will they be really good? I mean, we were sold last year on Diaz and Familia coming back, and look what happened. And Tim said it himself, Familia was flat out not good last year. So I don't really have much faith in those two. But I am also just, really skeptical because we were sold on them and they just underperformed. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think I'm going to have to wait and see how it pans out because there's just so many things that are up in the air and so many things you can't really predict. But I am interested to see how Gesellman performs, since Will and I have had this conversation in the past. Like, I personally didn't mind Gesellman in a relief position. I kind of gave him the benefit of the doubt of like, oh, he's coming from a starting role to now a bullpen role. It's a little bit of a different transition and everything. So I kind of want to see what he'll do this year, and kind of, I think he might have a better year because it's a shortened season, but that's who I really have my eye on this year, Gesellman.
Yeah, he's actually, I mean, his importance when Syndergaard went down, he all of a sudden becomes a lot more important because he's a guy who can swing at some starts. He's a guy who's going to definitely get the rest of the bullpen. But, yeah, I mean, literally the Mets would have made the playoffs last year if the bullpen was, like, honestly just halfway decent, not even good, you know? Like, the reason they didn't make the playoffs was because the bullpen was, every time you pick up the phone to go to it last year, it's like, all right, well, let's see how this goes this time. I mean, like, there is nothing good coming from it. Like you said, Joe, Diaz is a train wreck. I mean, just, oh my gosh. So I'm like, I just like, it has to get better just by like existence and like the fact that there's no way they can almost replicate. It was almost impressive how bad the bullpen was at that, you know, in that June, July little window there. So, I mean, I don't even think, like, I think it literally simply has to get better just because.
Yeah.
I almost hope that, like, being that we're starting in July, that, you know, how they kind of start off, like, decent, and then June, July, they kind of, like, flatline, and they kind of come back in August. I kind of hope that, being that this season is shortened by a whole lot, that they'll just kind of be, like, even mediocre the entire season. And I will be so happy if they are just mediocre. But, like, even Lugo, I feel like, is another guy that is so underrated. Based on his numbers alone last year, he was the second best reliever we had. So he's also my second eye will be on him. But like I said, they have to be at least mediocre for me to be happy this year.
Yeah, Lugo was the only thing that was good on the bullpen. He's probably the second best pitcher in the whole damn team.
Yeah, I think after the Grom, it was Seth Lugo. I think it was definitely the second best pitcher on that team. And you pointed out, I think, I will say in defense of Diaz, like, he was pretty good for the first 2 months till he had that game in LA, as Evan Roberts pointed out on WFAN the last couple of days.
Yeah.
That one meltdown against the Dodgers, he was never the same after that game because, like, something in that game, like, broke him. And then hopefully all this time off and a little bit of, like, heat from having all these guys behind him will push him to be a better pitcher this year.
Yeah, no, he honestly was. Like, I remember actually at one point, like, he was actually automatic. Like, I remember at one point, Phillips, you and I were texting during a game one time where, you know, we're just like, oh, let's get the game. Just get the ball to Diaz and we get the win. Like, God, I was not. It's actually crazy to think I was like saying something like that. But he was like, he's there. He's there. Like, he's not. I don't think he's Benitez, but you don't know.
The one thing I'm intrigued about with him, and I'm curious about, Jill, if you agree with me on this, I think if they de-juice the baseball, I think he'll be a lot better. Because I think a lot of the problem with him was that he couldn't control the slider, and he was having trouble. It was not spinning. It was basically flat, and people just teeing it up and driving it out of the ballpark. I think if the ball was normal, I think he'll be a lot better.
For sure. I think it's a problem that a lot of pitchers faced last year. But, yeah, I definitely think that if the ball changes, then his game will change as well.
Yeah, well, the good old juice baseball theory, I think that holds a lot of water for Diaz.
It is the fact, too. I mean, like, it's like he needs the slider. He pitches off the slider. Like, it's like anybody. If their best pitcher's in there, they're not going to do well. So I think, like, everybody kept saying, what was it last year? Like, all we kept hearing was like, oh, the velocity is there, the spin rate, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't know. I truly think it was more of a case of, like, yeah, that game broke him in LA, and he was just like, you know, the Boo Birds in Citi Field, they hang around a lot, so.
That should be a benefit for him because there's no fans there to boo him this year.
That's what I mean this year, yeah. Like I actually, honest to God, like, I think it's kind of a cop-out to be like, oh, my God, the fans get on. I mean, I bet you, when you go from sleepy Seattle to New York, I'm sure it's definitely a bit of a freaking change.
Yeah.
You can bury a 5-run outing in Seattle a lot easier than you can do it in New York.
Yeah, because you don't have like 15 talk radio stations, like Reddit, like Twitter, everybody going nuts about you, and like 15 papers and 7 news stations.
No, so yeah, I think there's a lot of adjustments. So I kind of give him as much as he pissed me off. You got to give him a little bye here and let him dig him, bring himself back up.
Yeah, let's go to the rotation for a minute too, because we started there. Like we started with Jake. We know what the rotation is gonna be now that Syndergaard is out. Waka is fully in it. The question for me is like, where do they go if somebody gets hurt? Because the odds of them getting all 5 guys through all 60 games are not great. Because just a pure math of like somebody will get hurt, somebody will stink, and they'll need to be replaced. But like, where are we going after this? Is David Peterson in there? Are we going to Corey Oswalt again? Are we going to Walker Lockett again? I'm surprised they haven't added another starting pitcher to this mix.
I honestly just like I can't watch Walker Lockett pitch again. I honestly just put someone else at position players. Oh, we can't do that anymore. But yeah, again, Matt, he's terrible. Like, you get someone who. That's one thing that is definitely when Noah went down, you just didn't. I don't know. Like, even just like a Felix Hernandez type, who obviously he's not playing now. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like there's such a huge drop off, like you hinted at. So, and again, like that could be like so detrimental in a season like this. You know what I mean? Like, you miss 2 turns with a guy like DeGrom. You miss 3 DeGrom starts. I don't even want to know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, Jill. I know I listened to Broy Van Wagen yesterday. He was on with Evan Roberts on WFAN. He also talked about, like, one of the options they're thinking about for, like, if they need a starter is somebody like Robert Gesellman or Seth Lugo, because they will have, like, they'll be able to just stretch them out a little bit and have them start and then back them up with relievers. I think the Jared Hughes sign sort of gives them flexibility. If they want to put one of them in the rotation, they can.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is also the first year probably in a handful of years that I'm actually concerned about this rotation, since the Mets have typically had, at least one of the top 5 or so rotations in all of baseball. So, like, I'm actually concerned to see what will happen and how they perform. Obviously, we know DeGrom is the most reliable, but if someone does go down, I think the first option to bring someone up would be Gesellman. I think I would rather have him up and Lugo down, and kind of take a chance at Diaz and Familia in the 8th and 9th. But it's going to be interesting to see, how this is. Again, like I keep saying this, is I really don't know how to make a prediction for this season, but it's really just going to be, a game of cards at this point.
Yeah, this season really is I think the key for this is just who stays healthy. That's really, I think, going to be the key to everything, because we've seen the Braves have issues. We've seen the Nationals have had guys opt out. There's rumblings about Phillies camp about some things. And, like, right now, the Mets are pretty healthy. I think that's huge.
Don't jinx us yet, please.
Knocking on that wood again.
I mean, really, the injury bug is my main concern, because if DeGrom goes down, like Will said, and he misses
Game
even
over.
2 starts, let alone 3, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the biggest piece here, and not having Syndergaard is obviously huge too, even though Syndergaard had a lackluster year last year. But, I know this year it's already a letdown to begin with. So I think if, God forbid, there is an injury bug that goes around this organization, it's going to be even worse. And I'm not really prepared to see what's going to happen.
All right, let's go to the lineup for a minute. Will, give me your ideal lineup for the Mets, 1 to 9. We'll include the DH in there. So just tell me who's batting where.
So earlier this year, I actually was jotting down on Twitter, presuming that's in the outfield. But now it looks a bit deeper. So, I got Nimmo, McNeil, Alonso, Conforto, Seth, Davis, Cano, Ramos, Rosario. So I just don't know. I guess McNeil and Davis interchange, right? Like, this one plays third, this one plays outfield. I was more like, who the hell is playing where?
Yeah.
It's not hard, But yeah, I just Seth playing DH. But like I said, I just feel like it's a better team. I mean, all things considered, it could be like, unable to literally play outfield. I think it's a better team defensively if he's in the outfield, and being able to get Dom into there. It's pretty righty heavy if you ask me, but of course, it's so interchangeable on given the day and the starter and so on and so forth. But that's like my ideal lineup, especially if Nimmo's healthy. I mean, we saw just how ravaged he was with that injury last year. I mean, he was not even remotely close to the same batter that we had seen before. He was just striking out a ton and no power. But if he's there, it sets a tone. Think of just getting a guy on base in front of ahead of a guy like McNeil who can handle the bat so damn well. He can do so many things, hit and run. I mean, if all things go well, Alonso, if this was a full 162, I mean, you're looking at 100 RBI seasons for Alonso and Conforto, close to get on base that they do, ahead of them.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good construction, Will, and I agree with you on one thing. I'm curious about this is like the Mets cannot put Cano third again this year. They can't. He has to be lower in the lineup because this group is too talented at the top. I think you put him right behind Cespedes at 6. That's where I think you start him. If he hits well, you can move him up. But, Jill, I don't know about you. I hope that Brody DH does not go downstairs and tell Luis Rojas, hey, put Cano third. He deserves it.
Yeah, I'm just going to preface this by saying I'm like really bad at making lineups. So like never, ever called me to make your lineup. But this is all kind of like Will said, contingent on who's playing where, what day. But I kind of based it off of it being Cespedes in left because we all know that they're going to push for him to be in left. And then I have Smith as my DH. So I have a Nimmo in center, McNeil at second, Alonso at first. And this is kind of where I get a little dicey. I don't really like the back-to-back of Alonso and Conforto, but this can kind of be interchangeable. So either it be the DH spot, whether it be Smith or Cespedes, whoever, and then Conforto, or vice versa, Conforto then the DH. So yeah, I kind of get a little dicey there. But let's say it's Smith at DH, Conforto in right, Cespedes in left, Rosario at short. Then I have Davis at third and Ramos as catcher. But then again, I'm really bad at making lineups, so don't quote me on this. If I'm completely far off, please don't come after me. Please don't.
I won't come after you, but I do. I think I think we're all in agreement that Cano cannot be hitting third this year.
Yeah, definitely not.
One thing I'd love to see as the season goes on is I just want to see Rosario actually become the leadoff hitter if he can. Because again, just imagine him going to the top and then just pushing everything else down, how deep it gets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to see that. And but then again, you know, if the DH sticks around, which is gonna, I mean, like they're not going to collect the bargain this year and then not put it in the next one. So I mean, I guess doesn't play the Torres that night for the Yankees, so I guess it's okay if Rosario that's nice for the Mets.
Yeah, that's true. And I do think the Rosario thing, I think the issue with him is just the fact that he just doesn't walk enough. If he drew more walks, he'd be at the top of the line right now with his speed, but he just doesn't.
Exactly.
He doesn't.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and we'll go ahead a little bit. Like, I think, take a second here. I do think the one thing that's positive about this team is obviously A, the depth. I think B, that they actually have somebody who has an idea how to manage in Luis Rojas. So at least he's managed the minor league level. Will not look clueless like Mickey Callaway did at points last year.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a guy he's like the way things fell into his lap this off season. You know, he's not. I don't peg him as a guy who's like that, right? Who's Mickey Callaway. So I'm actually like. I wanted Beltran to be the manager, but I tell you, it's like a weird optimism here at Rojas, where I'm kind of like, I actually expect like really good things. Like you said, the players are familiar with him. He, knows what he is doing to an extent. So like, I am actually very intrigued to see just what he does. It kind of reminds me of, like a silent guy is going to show up at the ballpark. He's got a job to do. He's going to do the job, and we're not going to have wacky, awful in-game management, hopefully.
Yeah, I think I have to agree, like almost identically with what Will just said. I mean, I think the biggest thing that helps Rojas out this season in particular is the fact that he is coming from the minors with a much shorter season than the bigs. So I think that's going to play in his favor because he'll know how to get the most bang for his buck if we're using money talk here. If that makes any sense at all, I hope it does. But yeah, I think his experience with the shortened season in the minors and, like Will said, his familiarity with a lot of the players is definitely going to be a selling point for him this year.
Yeah, I will point out as one of my experiences, I did get to listen to quite a bit of Luis Rojas' sound clips over the past couple of months, and I will say he has a far greater handle on like how to do this job than Mickey Callaway did. Because there were points where Callaway would just talk, and you're sitting there like, "What's he talking about? Like, why is he doing this?" Like,
no. Every time Every time. I couldn't think of a time where I was like, that guy's making sense. Every time you're like, holy crap, does he even know where he is?
Yeah. I remember last year the one game where he intentionally walked a guy to get to Bryce Harper to clear. Something was like he walked a guy to get to a pinch hitter so they would burn Bryce Harper. I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, hey, you're dealing with, oh, God, I tell you, some of the things are just like absolutely just, okay, well, I guess this makes sense if you're never managed before.
Yeah, and I think he will have Ross a much calmer clubhouse than Mickey did at points.
I mean, isn't it kind of like just the general idea, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Like,
Yeah.
Mickey just kept breaking it and fixing it and breaking it and fixing it, where it's like, yeah, it's fine to pitch to the guy, Don't have to go and, oh, gosh, I tell you. He'd have a fit with the thing, the 3-batter minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like, how would he get through that, and how would he do it? And I know he had it a little bit, but Jesus, yeah, I'm excited.
Well, if Mickey was here, the bright side is he wouldn't have to double switch anymore because that's out of his hands now at the DH. But the problem is, like, I don't know how he played the 10th inning thing with the extra inning rule. I think he'd be awful at that.
Oh gosh, actually, I kind of want to see it. Well, how about the fact that Tim Healy, who's also interviewed, you have him on this, if you won't have to worry about thinking the manager's going to punch him in the mouth or
Oh my
something
God.
a good day. Like, what the heck was that?
Oh, God bless.
Yeah.
Like, that whole thing, that should have been it then. But hey, no Vargas and no Mickey anymore, so he's really in the clear. He's living large right now.
Yeah, no cartoon fights in the clubhouse anymore. So now we can look ahead to this season. I'll go around the horn. Get some X factors. Jill, give me your X factor for this season.
All right, so I kind of have two here. And I think the biggest one might be DeGrom, because obviously he is the GOAT, as I like to call him every single time I post it online. But I think his performance will definitely be indicative of how this team will overall perform. And then the second one that I have, I think, has to be Alonso, just because he is coming off such a great rookie season, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of replicate it in some sort of way in not only his second season, but a shortened season. So I think as long as he can perform, I think that'll spark the rest of the offense, which will then help DeGrom. So it's kind of like a twofer in a way here. But yeah, that's kind of my two big things here.
Will, who's your X factor?
Seth, I think it's easy, just think of what that guy does to this team if he's, I'm not expecting 2015, 2016 you want to assess for this, no, but just anything kind of around that, just the middle of the order guy, dynamic hitter. I mean, forget the fielding, right? Like, if he can't play well in left, I don't care. But if he can be a legitimate bat in the lineup and we have seen what this guy does. I tell people, if you're a Mets fan that is like our age, it's like there's a few things you remember, and one of them is Cespedes becoming Babe Ruth for a month, and then Daniel Murphy becoming Babe Ruth for a month. So, Cespedes is unbelievable when he's healthy, and I think if that dude is capable of at least slotting into the lineup every day, there's a lot of great things that he can do, and this team can just, become even greater. Just fly, just go. I mean, that's one of the deepest lineups in the division, even in the National League. So, as you can tell, I've wanted this guy to work out ever since he signed that deal, and I love the guy. I loved him in Oakland. I hope he can just become that dynamic middle of the order bat just for at least maybe one more year.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer because obviously, you see the records. When he plays, they win, and they win a lot. When he doesn't, they lose. That's usually the pattern with Cespedes. So if he's there, I think they're going to win a lot. But for variety's sake, I will throw out Marcus Stroman because now there's a lot more pressure on him to be the number 2 behind Jacob deGrom. He's in a contract year, and he was not great for the most part when he came over at the end of last year. You and I, Will, saw him in a start where he left after 3 innings in person. And I think, Stroman has to actually step up and be much better than he was at the end of last year for the Mets to really have a shot this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. We just harped on all the starting pitching and stuff. He's the guy, right? That's the guy who, when he pitches to his capability, the dude's an ace, at least a 1B. So I don't expect, obviously, ace stuff, but I do expect a guy who's going to pitch to a lot of contact, induce a lot of ground balls, not necessarily throw a ton of pitches because of that, and try to work deep into ball games and give this team a chance to win. And it's so, like we said, we just talked about before with Syndergaard being out and all these guys and the pitching depth, and that is one massive must. It's that he needs to pitch well and not kind of teeter-totter like he did for a little bit last year.
Yeah, indeed. Before we go to the predictions, before we wrap up with that, I do want to touch on the ownership thing, maybe, because we are recording on the 9th. The first round of bids are in, and we do have some news on some of the people who are bidding today. Some people who have placed bids on the Mets. There's going to be a second round of bidding coming up in the next couple of weeks, but some of the notable bidders this week, A-Rod's group bid, the Josh Harris group bid, and Steve Cohen himself has thrown a bid on the Mets, so the dream is still alive, Jill.
Stevie Cohen! Okay, so honestly, I just need someone who's competent to own this team and just do a better job. Because even this year, I feel like there's something really spectacular going into the season. Like, no spectacular moves being made, but I feel like Stevie Cohen's got those deep pockets, and I also kind of think his role that he had previously, even though it was a minority ownership, I think that'll definitely play a factor as a persuasion type of factor here, just because he kind of will most likely know what's going on in the realm of ownership compared to like A-Rod. Like, that's not a knock at A-Rod. Like, it was pretty cool to have him on the team, but like, I think Cohen's current position with the team will be an edge, and also those deep pockets are just something that I cannot see past.
Oh yeah, we've talked about this off air.
Plenty.
A lot, Phil. And Mookie Betts looked freaking good on the Mets, and it just needs to happen because I need Mookie Betts. I need players. I need investment in analytics teams. Like Jill said, I need someone who's got a damn brain and a nine in the pocket. It's just, come on, I am ready for it. Steve Cohen, please, not A-Rod. I love A-Rod. I think he's absolutely hilarious. No, I don't need that at Citi Field. The Mets, I just see that going so south, right?
Yeah.
I see the 30 for 30. What if I told you, A-Rod? I see it already. I'm not into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the answer for Met fans, like if we pick the donors, obviously Steve Cohen, because you take the billionaire who's worth $14 billion as a diehard Met fan, will spend whatever he has to get the best players here. That's the winner. But I think of everybody else, I'd still take the A-Rod group over the Harris group, because the Harris group, I think, seems like they're just in this to make a buck and flip the team, as opposed to actually like being really invested in making the team better.
No, they're just honestly, they're probably just more confident version of the Wilpons, in my opinion. You see the teams that they own and just kind of what they are, right? Like,
yep.
You're right. A lot of hearsay with that one. I totally agree.
Yeah, well, we're all on the Stevie Cohen bandwagon. Hopefully in a couple of weeks he'll be throwing a socially distanced party that he's actually buying the team. But we'll talk about this season right now. I'll go around the horn here. Jill, quickly, prediction, Mets do what this season?
I don't think I've sound all that optimistic throughout this, so I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to say, I'm going to lowball, and I'm going to say they're going to go 500, only because I feel like if I go any higher, they're going to disappoint me even more than usual. So I'm going to go with a 500 finish. So I would rather be wrong and then do better than be, completely right and it just be totally bad. So, yeah, we're going 500.
Will, what about you?
I think just kind of like what they did last year, kind of mirror that as far as record wise and where they stand in the standings. Yeah, I don't know. This year, I'll be honest, I don't really have lofty expectations. It's just a year where I'm happy it's going to be here. I'm happy we get to watch baseball, but at the same time, I understand what's going on. So I just think it's going to be a bizarre year, and let's kind of end up around that same number as last year. Obviously not the complete number, but you know what I'm trying to say. What was their over-under set at? Wasn't it like 30 something?
I think it was like 32, I want to say, around there.
Yeah, I could see within that 35-ish range for sure. Yeah, nothing, I'm not going to go crazy this year. Yeah. There's too much secondary stuff going on. I think the sale, the manager, all, of course, what's going on in the world, where it's weird. I feel like it's a cop-out, but I feel like a lot of predictions this year, it's just you got to wait until you see it, You got to wait till that season rolls around.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm the optimist of the group here. I just feel like if there was ever a year for the Mets to do well, it would be this year when they can't have fans there, when they can't have a parade, they win anything. Like, I just feel like I feel like the way these things are trending, I feel like they can win the NL East, and I will pick them to do that. As of right now, my gut is they get to the LCS and lose to the Dodgers. That's my gut right now at the Mets, is where I have them at.
Now, the only thing I have against that is that I feel like every time I've gotten my hopes up that high, they just let me down. And the thing is, when it comes to there being no fans in the stands, I think that actually plays against them. I think this team feeds off the crowd. I mean, Alonso himself feeds off the crowd, and the team feeds off of Alonso. So I think that fans not being there is going to be so detrimental to this team. But at the same time, if they're not playing well, it could be helpful. So that's another one of those things where it can go either way. But I'm definitely leaning more towards that fans not being there is not going to help them at all.
No, I was saying not that they don't help them. It's more of like it'd be typical Mets that like they do well in a year that the fans can't actually be there and participate in it.
Oh, it would totally happen. Like, this is going to be the year where like everyone's going to be proving wrong. They're going to win whatever version of the World Series is going to happen this year. And we're all going to be sitting here like, what the heck happened? And we can't do anything about it. Because that's just the Mets. Let's be real here. But again, like I'm not trying to get my hopes up that high because if I do, it's going to be soul crushing.
Yeah, well, that's. I reserve the right. I reserve the right to change my mind on that. By the way, like will when we do our predictions
Sure.
we do our predictions for the on the baseball beat next week for the season. Hopefully, we're still doing that at that point. But we will. I'll reserve the right to change my mind on the Mets, depending on what happens between now and then.
Fair enough. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, we just saw that scary thing with Tanaka. Like it's just bizarre, man. I just hope I'm going to enjoy watching baseball, put it that way. I don't really, know how to act with it. Like, what happens if the Mets do win the World Series?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, and like you said, this will be the damn one that they win, where, forever I have to, constantly defend the fact that, there's still a World Series. It's just, again, these are all things I've already thought of because it's the Mets.
It is the Mets.
Never make it easy for you. Never make it easy.
Yep, it is the Mets, and since we are, I think, pretty well good with the Mets now, I think it's appropriate we wrap up the fan forum with this.
Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really stopping the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the Mets of New York town, of New York town.
There we have it. Mets fan forum in the books.
Oh, that's a great song.
It's fantastic. And I want to thank both of you guys for coming on. We'll go around do a little social media. Jill, how can people follow you on social media? They want to keep up with you.
I've been definitely using Instagram more lately, so I think my handle is at Jilly5. That's JILLYY and the number 5, because obviously David Wright is all of my life.
Okay, so you can follow Jill there. Will, how about you? How can people keep up with you on social media?
Oh, yeah, on Twitter, just Will Schneider H1.
All right, there you have it. Thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we're going to talk a little fantasy baseball. The 7th inning stretch of the podcast with the great Alan Austin right after this.